Welcome to the Autism Alliance of Michigan Skill Building Series. AAOM is guided by the vision that people with autism will lead lives that meet their greatest potential. The mission of AAOM is to lead efforts to raise expectations and expand opportunities for people touched by autism across the lifespan. Hello, my name is Candace Peterson, and I am an occupational therapy consultant for AAOM. I want to welcome you to our webinar today on sensory strategies. I also wanted to let you know that there is a handout that can be used to help guide you through this webinar. Each child has a very specific set of needs. While today I'm providing general strategies as well as discussing how you can monitor your child's response to sensory activities, therapy services with an occupational therapist who understands sensory processing will always benefit your child and will cater to their unique needs. First, we are going to talk about the most important consideration when your child is participating in sensory activities, and this will help guide us as we talk about more specific strategies. This is monitor your child's response. We really want to know, what do different types of sensory input do for your child? Do they cause overstimulation so that they may appear hyper? Do they promote a calm and relaxed body? Do they regulate them to the point that they are still alert and able to participate in daily activities, homework, things like that? Do they do nothing to them? This is the most important thing, and as we go through specific strategies, we'll come back to this and talk about what their response might be to the strategies and how that can help you alter what activities you're helping your child participate in. Let's talk about talking about our senses. We can always talk to our children about their senses, even if maybe they're not verbal enough to be able to discuss back with you. It will help them become more aware. It will help them understand their body. We can talk about what our body is feeling or help them identify what their body is feeling. After I gave you that big squeeze, you seem calmer. Do you feel calmer? The ultimate goal would be for our children to understand exactly what their body is feeling and what their body needs, as well as be able to give their body what it needs. The truth is, though, even those of us with fully integrated sensory systems are not always able to regulate. Sometimes we need help from others or a specific set of strategies to help us. So let's talk about co-regulation versus self-regulation. Co-regulation is using ourselves as adults or parents and the supports that we can provide to help our child regulate, while self-regulation is the ability to regulate our sensory systems on our own, for your child to regulate their sensory systems on their own. When one has achieved self-regulation, we would be able to say things like, my body feels overstimulated, like my skin is crawling, like I can't listen to what you're saying right now because of all of the background noise. This is identifying exactly what our body feels in that moment. We also might be able to say, I need, and talk about what our body needs. I need a big, tight hug. I need to take a break in a quieter room. I need to rock back and forth. Yet another level to this would be identifying what that does for our body. This helps me feel calmer. It allows me to pay attention. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel less anxious. That would be even the next level to self-regulation. So chances are that your child still needs some help. They're still co-regulating, and they probably will be for a while. So what are some strategies that we can provide our children while we're still using this co-regulation to help them participate in daily life? Let's talk about vestibular strategies first. So in general, linear movement is more organizing for our vestibular system. Think back and forth, back and forth. Also, vestibular input is very powerful because it can last up to 6 to 7 hours. Think of when you're sitting on a playground swing and you get that back and forth movement just swinging. That is what we're trying to achieve. Now I'm going to show you a video of a child rocking on a ball that will better illustrate this linear movement. This rhythmic rocking is very regulating for this child. And a yoga ball, exercise ball like this is a great tool to have in your house so that you can implement this sort of movement. You can also participate in that same activity by placing your child on their back and rocking them that way. However, some children are sensitive to going upside down. So again, monitor your child's response. You want to see what happens right after and also through the rest of the day after you implement these activities. You can also place your child in a blanket with an adult holding one side and another adult holding the other side and rock them back and forth. All of those activities are good linear movement to help organize your child with vestibular input. However, we never want to do vestibular input on its own. And so I'm going to talk to you about combining vestibular input with other types of input. But first, I want to explain those other strategies, and then we will get into the combination. If at any time you feel you need more information on these sensory systems, you can go back and watch our first sensory webinar that outlines sensory processing and the 8 sensory systems in more detail. Next, we are talking about proprioceptive strategies, which you will also often hear labeled as heavy work. Proprioceptive strategies can be completed alone and are great if you often only have a short amount of time to help your child achieve a more regulated state. These include things like animal walks, such as bear walks or crab walks, wheelbarrow walking, where you hold your child's feet and they walk on their hands, lifting, pushing, or carrying anything heavy, climbing, ladders, crawling through tunnels, jumping on a trampoline or just jumping up and down, bouncing on a ball, chewing, blowing, or using straws to drink thicker liquids such as smoothies or milkshakes. So here you'll see a few examples of these things. The child in the first box is completing a crab walk, great heavy work. Also, your child participating in daily activities, such as this child lifting the heavy basket of laundry, is great proprioceptive input. A lot of time play structures have a lot of opportunities for proprioceptive input, such as climbing up a ladder or crawling under or over things. And you see here this girl drinking a thicker liquid such as a smoothie through a straw, which is also good heavy work. Now I'm going to show you a video of a child bouncing on a ball, which provides proprioceptive input. What's great about this video is that the parent is alternating between vestibular and proprioceptive input to give their child both. Another thing that you can do is buy a ball or have a ball in your home where your child can plant their feet on the floor and give themselves the proprioceptive input. So you have the option of helping them or them providing that input for themselves. Our next set of strategies targets the tactile system, more commonly known as touch. We will be focusing on deep pressure input. In general, deep pressure input is more regulating, while light touch tends to be more alerting. Think of a massage, which is deep pressure, versus a feather grazing your skin, which is light touch. It is so important to monitor your child's response to these strategies, as some children really like deep pressure input, while others do not. Deep pressure input targets the tactile system, but often provides some proprioceptive input as well. It also can be done alone. Some examples of tactile strategies would be tight hugs, big bear hugs with a lot of squeezing, yoga ball pressed on a child's back with pressure, and I'll show you a video of this, squeezes on a child's arms or legs, or deep pressure massage to arms, legs, or back. This can also include weighted items such as weighted blankets or weighted vests. Please discuss this with a therapist or research on the web before purchasing any weighted items, as they should be targeted to your child's size. Also, tight-fitting clothing that has a lot of stretch to it or is a size too small, that provides your child with some input. Now I will show you a video of a child receiving some deep pressure input. You can see the parent providing a little bit of pressure with their hands and upper extremities, their arms, to organize and regulate the child using the ball. Now that we've talked about each set of activities separately, you may be wondering, how can you combine these activities? As a reminder, never do vestibular activities alone. Always follow these up with at least proprioceptive input, if not proprioceptive and deep pressure. This allows the child to integrate the vestibular information that their body received, which basically means it will really benefit their body and their body will truly absorb that information. Using multiple types of input and engaging in them for longer periods will likely provide your child with the most regulation. You will need to set aside more time if you're completing multiple activities. I would say at minimum, I recommend about 15 minutes. So here's an example of how you can combine these types of input. First, you may engage in some vestibular input by rocking on a yoga ball, like we showed in the video. Maybe you'll rock back and forth about 10 to 20 times, maybe more, depending on what your child tolerates and responds to. Then you could engage in proprioceptive input, maybe a bear walk. And then last, you could provide deep pressure input, such as rolling the yoga ball on the back with pressure, like we showed in the video. Again, you should choose activities that elicit the best response from your child and put them in the state of regulation that is desired at that time. Are they trying to go to sleep, focus on a sit-down task, play appropriately with peers? What is your goal, and what activities help you achieve that state of regulation? Another strategy I want to suggest to you is a reset space. This space could be a tent, fort, room, or corner of your house. It is a space that your child can go when they truly need to reset their body. It is unique to them and not shared with anyone else, and it contains comforting, calming items that they enjoy. It is lower light, no screens, and overall low stimulation. I often find this really benefits the children that I work with, and they tend to begin to seek this space out on their own throughout the day when they truly need the time to reset. Finally, today I want to talk to you about sensory equipment. There are a lot of options for sensory equipment out there, and I have a few just listed today on the screen. Some of these things can be used in your child's reset space, such as the body sock, the chewies, the fidgets, or weighted blankets. And a lot of sensory equipment can be used throughout your day as needed as well. Here we have a Lycra sheet that can be used on your child's bed to give them deep pressure at night. We also have a body sock, a Lycra swing, chewies, fidgets, a yoga ball, which as I showed today has many purposes, weighted blankets, and also a wobble board to provide vestibular input. As you learn more about your child's sensory systems through participating in activities with them and monitoring their response, it may become more clear to you what sensory equipment may benefit them. As I said before, it may benefit you as well to work with an occupational therapist who can cater to and guide you for your child's unique needs. I want to thank you so much for joining me today for this webinar about sensory strategies. I hope you found this webinar and the other skill building webinars beneficial. For additional information, questions, and resources, please contact the Autism Alliance of Michigan. AAOM is prepared at no cost to counsel, advocate, and connect families to evidence-based care and support, however long it takes. Our navigation program will connect anyone touched by autism to a free lifelong guide with professional help and answers. Thank you so much again for attending this webinar.